It's better to hear harsh truth earlier rather than, proceed with some project and then have poor results in a year or so.
In the tech world, stepping down as CEO usually means you got fired. But in Makimo, we're embracing the squiggly career path, talking about a very intentional corporate switch. I'm sitting down with Krzysztof to discuss the fine line between growth and burnout, how AI can't replace human relationships, and what a pet hamster can teach you about deploying software.
And you need to have those human connections.
Let's get into it.
You could take any role possible. Why partnerships?
Well, if these almost 16 years taught me anything, it was that you cannot make software, even though it's highly technical company, without having relationships, without getting to know people. Especially nowadays, it's very difficult to be only technical. As AI kicks in, it really helps developing software, but even if it continues to grow, continues to be a much better tool, it will still not get trust from people from different businesses, companies, organizations. And you need to have those human connections, connections with people, to simply be a bridge between technology that will be changing, has been always changing and will be changing and is changing, and between the technology and people who have real needs, who have real goals, who just want to achieve something. And we need to be like a glue, like a bridge between those two worlds.
We, as people, as software professionals, as IT professionals, need to be the glue, the bridge, but also having this AI revolution and this massive technological disruption coming in, we, I think, need to be constantly challenging the reality and the world that we live in. There is my discussion with Shane, with one of our clients, available on this channel. We agreed that many people will lose their jobs for the sake of AI and automation, but we need to create new jobs and nurture the sense of entrepreneurship. And now I say it correct way. How do you feel about this part of the responsibility?
Well, yeah, definitely. It is kind of a problem that I also see, as I'm a teacher in the academia, and of course we have students that are finishing their studies and they're wondering whether they have a job in IT. And well, I'm not hiding this, that yes, the landscape is difficult. It's definitely more difficult to get a job now than it was 5 years ago. And definitely it's not only about IT graduates, it's also about, pretty much anyone who doesn't have a lot of experience, because, young lawyers, young accountants, pretty much anyone who begins their journey in the job market might have problems, because they need to start their job, they need to learn their skills, and AI does a lot of tasks faster. So one of the key aspects that I want us to include in our activity, I'm not saying that maybe this is part of our mission, but this is something I want our software, our services to have, is to have this human factor that, yes, our software might change how people work, but this was also true previously. I mean, the whole point of introducing software is to make people's work easier, so they can do a lot less menial tasks and focus on something that, truly nurture your mind.
Or generate value.
Yes. So, I always, when I speak with executives, board members, upper management, I'm always trying to, encourage them to make a graduate change rather than, making those fast, rapid changes like it happens sometimes, in these big companies, that you have layoffs, that, people come to work and they cannot log in their system, and it's how they find out that they were fired. This is for me, it's a horrible way.
Yeah, and a few weeks later, the company realizes that these people were really important, that they can't deliver. Yeah,
this shouldn't happen that way. It should be much more gradual. Of course, even if you decide that yes, you need to fire up people, you should do it much more responsibly. But it should be more oriented towards finding new places, new spaces, new activities that your employees who you already have might do, and like encourage them to get accustomed to new tasks, new jobs, new roles, and of course provide some trainings also how to use AI. And this is how and where the world should go. It's not to just fire people because we have AI, but rather teach people how to use AI or other tools that you introduce, not only AI based, and then provide. You can have more value generated by the work of the same people, but with new training, new tools.
Or they can have more time for testing, for designing the solution and prototyping. I always, when I was teaching at your academia, because we're working not only in Makimo together, but also at the academy, I was telling my students that it's not important that they create something beautiful, although their creations weren't that beautiful. But I was always asking, what problems are you trying to solve? Why is that different? How do you create value with this? And they were like clueless. And when there was no space for me in the schedule, especially the remote one, I wasn't sad.
Yes, it's often difficult, to teach not just
some
basic skills, how to use a tool or how to implement something, but
because tools change.
Yeah, but how to provide value in changing environment is something that will be valuable, I think, always. But of course, how you achieve it might be changing, will be changing, is changing.
And through all those discussions, I believe we are teaching our clients how to be more mindful in their business. I mean, we witnessed many startups and scale-ups and other companies failing miserably. I don't want to throw names here. That's not the case, to point fingers at clients that separated from us on the sadder note. But whenever people try to be this feature factory, pushing new releases without taking care of the human side and looking sideways, they always ended up failing. Failing with very little options to recover.
Yes, I mean, it's always difficult because, of course, one basic goal is to make your client happy, that you deliver software as they want it, as they need it. But on the other hand, sometimes you need to tell harsh truth, and this might be a difficult thing, and not everybody does it. I would say that more often than not, definitely more often than not, people appreciate it when you're honest and you say difficult things. Of course, in a proper way, in a proper setting. You don't just throw it in a big meeting with everyone, but especially one-to-one conversation with some decision makers. You are honest. Sometimes the truth is harsh, but you do it, you tell it, and usually it works in a good way that you say that.
Embracing radical candor.
Yeah, definitely.
Basically.
Because after all, it's better to hear harsh truth earlier, rather than proceed with some project and then have poor results in a year or so. I mean, that's much more honest course to take.
And as a company that provides workforce from this point of view, in this configuration, we usually are the scapegoats, the ones to blame. Okay, our idea was the best and your delivery was subpar, which is not that easy, to judge. Never.
Yes, I mean, the vendor is usually the easiest one to blame, and I'm not saying that we don't make any mistakes ever.
No.
But sometimes, especially when you have not only a few stakeholders, but rather representatives of different divisions of a company in bigger corporate settings, it really can be tricky to navigate through all the relationships, to find where the power lies, where the ultimate source of truth about the system you want to create. is located. In theory, it should be easy. This is the man or woman who you should talk to about the project to get everything you need to know. But then it turns out that it is half a year later after the project already started. This guy is actually very important, and she knows everything about this. Why didn't you introduce them sooner?
Yeah. Partnerships aside, I know that you are not giving up entirely the operational work and the coding side of your job, of your career. Why is that?
In my opinion, it's very good to stay in touch with what is happening. I mean, of course, I could technically do some trainings, read a lot. I do. But the best way to learn something is by doing it, in my opinion. I think that I'm much better in these main roles. I want to focus on partnerships, on having some sales talks. When I actually describe what I did, it doesn't need to be very extensive. I'm kind of like a MacGyver, that I can take a little experience that I have compared to our, full-time employees, and really describe it and really extract knowledge, extract experience from that, and then, for example, apply it in some conversations, business talks, analysis of some, sales leads. That's one of my talents. I don't need tens of thousands of hours done with some technology to be able to freely speak about it. I can do much shorter, but using my previous experience, you could say I am fine-tuning myself like a model, AI model, to actually, be able to freely discuss, for example, how to use AI models to generate software using, spec-driven development, for example, my recent discovery.
And you're kind of lucky because your job, your tasks are not that easy to, outsource to generative AI. I mean, my role, my visual roles were all usually understood by pushing pixels, creating buttons, and so on and so on. Now, you can do everything with Lovable or other Gen AI tools. And I think that now I'm thriving, and I can, come up with ideas from outside the box, point out inefficiencies that are not included in those models, and, skip the mundane part. Now I'm happy, and I'm not officially doing the UX UI job.
Yes, but this is easy because, for example, even in our recent collaboration, I could simply open the tool, and I'm very, as I once joked, every time I open a Photoshop, a kitten dies because I'm so UI UX bad at this. But thanks to Lovable, when Tysia created the whole thing, and I just needed to add it like one table with a few columns, I can do it, and it doesn't look like like a horrible creation.
I was always saying that each and every one of you are doing user experience, are affecting the user experience. So now you can do it more viscerally, more tangible way.
Yeah.
We got a bit of a derail, very important derail. But back to partnerships. What are partnerships in IT? The word partner can be understood in very different ways.
Yes. When we are discussing this idea in a more structured way, one thing I was sure is that we didn't want to make like this automatic generated almost partner status that you do this and that and you become Makimo's partner, like a gold palm tree badge that you receive. Quite the contrary. It's rather our observation from years of cooperation with different people from different companies who sometimes just had relationships with us. Sometimes they were our clients who, liked us, enjoyed our work, and they decided that, if we did 1-2 projects and they were successful, then maybe we should do it on a, more consistent manner. And this is actually what happened with our most important partners. Maybe we haven't really used this word with them, but this is how we feel with them. Sometimes we throw it casually. We are trying to just, organize it a bit more, to have deep relationships with people who we like working with, like spending time with, also visiting. Sometimes they come here to Łódź, sometimes we go to them across the world. Because, even though this might seem quite weird for somebody who is not in the business, but creating software, even though it might be, associated with, people who do not have any social skills because they just code and create software, and this is all about, having some technical skills, math experience, and so on. But to be honest, to create real serious software and not just tackle some mathematical challenges, algorithmic challenges as a sport, you really need to connect with people. You really need to understand their needs. And having great relationships is maybe not a hard requirement, but it really, really helps a lot. And, delivering software that is not only, well, sometimes it does cost a bit, but it is also sometimes mission critical. It's very important. It's a strategic thing for activity of a company. You need to have a lot of trust. And this trust cannot be always built by us alone, but thanks to partners that we have who know us, who know that we can be relied on. They can be kind of a bridge between clients and us. And, our partners who know us, who know that we deliver exceptional work. And at the same time, they're trusted by their clients, the clients that we would be interested in. They're kind of like, bridge. They're kind of like we are creating kind of a chain of trust, yes. Partners trust us and clients trust partners. So by transitive property, and we are turning this into math lecture, it kind of works. But well, this is true. This is how it works.
And how is that different from having a sales rep?
I would say that sales reps are much better when you have a software product. And this is not just my knowledge. We are active members of SODA, Software Development Association Poland, which is the biggest software development association here in Poland, I think in whole Central Europe. And we discussed it a lot, that, having a sales representative for tailored services company, a bit of a consulting company, is wrong, because even great sales representatives from larger corporations who are focused on selling even expensive products, even much more expensive than our services, but these were products. These were something that you can memorize. You can have a lot of sales pitches, different scenarios, how to sell a product in different contexts. But here you have services, and these services can be anything in certain area, and you need to build a trust for a client to actually, from a lead, before lead becomes client, to actually buy from you. And I'm not telling that sales representative cannot build trust, but even I know companies that are in the stock market, they are really large, and they still use this sales process based in a high percent, by members of the board, by executives, by top people of the company.
And I would also add that the partnership is mutual. So
yes.
We usually partner with people or companies that are trustworthy and are reliable and provide value, generate good solutions. So if we recommend them, or we need to enhance our team because we are lacking some skills, they're the first to call.
Yes, I started from sales because that was the natural way how it started in our case. But currently we are looking in a much more broad way, I would say, that, sometimes we have contact, we tackle problems that cannot be solved just by our services, just by what we do. And this is the place where, for example, we can contact partners who, let's say, usually they have some projects, ideas that they want to discuss with us, but it can also go the other way. So definitely, and as we grow, those topics, those ideas might be more and more important.
Our clients are based in USA, where else? Poland. We've got partners in Norway as well. We had clients all over the world, so that's quite a wide array of breakfast types.
Yeah, so first a little bit of history, I guess.
Yeah, why we're even mentioning that many countries and how it happened.
Yes, well, currently we experienced a bit of a switcher, I guess that's the term, and some changes inside the board, but to be honest, some of us took new role, some of us replaced the roles, but today I would like to talk about, in particular, my own change, because I stepped down. In English it sounds much more serious, I guess, from the CEO role.
Yeah, in English it sounds like demotion, but you know, in our context, I don't feel like a demotion. It's like a change of roles, of areas of responsibility, perhaps.
Yes, I think so.
And well, my role, my letters also changed, and like I was doing a review in my head, and it's basically I'm doing the same thing as I was doing throughout my career. It's just like it sounds more serious, and I will be able to solve problems, IT problems and business problems directly with more serious stakeholders.
Yeah. So pretty much now I will be a partner responsible for partnerships, and the role of CEO has been taken over by Michał. While of course at least in LinkedIn, it happened at one point because we needed to do it one day simply by publishing information. It is a process that started, I would say, about 2 years ago, to be honest. But first, a little bit of history. I like history and history of our company. I mean, we can say that we're almost 16 years old.
Now you should say 16 years of age.
Although, 16 years in terms of IT company is really a lot. So just very briefly to explain how it goes, and that indeed it's not demotion. It's actually kind of simple change, replacement, change of roles. So Makimo started formally as Makimo Systems and formally as Makimo Systems Krzysztof Rychlicki-Kicior, because that was forced by Polish law as a sole proprietorship, sole entrepreneurship. So like my individual business activity, as we would directly translate from Polish, in 2010, 1st of September. And it was a direct result of activity of talks between Mateusz, Michał and myself. We are slowly finishing our studies, and we're discussing that, the environment, the ecosystem of companies that were hiring programmers in Poland, especially in our hometown of Łódź, was not really attractive at the moment. And we thought that, going for full-time job there, 9 to 5, wouldn't be very interesting, and maybe we would start something our own. And actually in 2010 we had this idea maybe to create a startup. It was called Paste Things. We did every possible mistake when creating our own idea, and it failed, but we decided to establish a company. And later, even though the startup idea actually wasn't that bad, it was later incorporated, the idea, of course, not the company, unfortunately, by Dropbox, for example.
Well, not directly your idea.
Yes, but similar.
And there was this enlightening moment that, Jesus fuck, why haven't we proceeded with this idea? Dropbox is doing this. You should trust your own guts more and keep going.
But the company was established, and we started doing some freelance work through it. In 2011 we established an office. It was actually also in May, so we hired first employees. But the thing is, since it started from my initiative, if I remember correctly, I was the one who wanted to start it right then, so it was my company technically, but also in Polish law, it was formally my full responsibility, even though from the very start we assumed that three of us, we are all in the same rights. We all worked to have a success in this company as partners, equal partners, you could say. But these first years were a bit stressful. We started getting clients, we started having employees, but also responsibility kicked in, and after
the clients got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and if I have an advice for anyone who's watching and who wants to establish a company, don't do it like that. Don't start a company, especially when you're young, especially when your target group are big and large companies and startups companies especially, and you're doing it through such a problematic legal form. But in late 2013 we decided to establish a limited liability company, Polish spółka z ograniczoną odpowiedzialnością, or private limited company, pretty much limited company. And then we became partners, even from a formal point of view, shareholders, board members. But kind of my historic role, as we joked before, primus inter pares. Yes, so we are equals, but just from historic reasons, I guess, I was named the president of the board, while Mateusz and Michał were members of the board, and using also this, popular terms like C something O, I became CEO. Mati and Michał were kind of rotating their titles, but Mati was always the one closest with the technology, and Michael was doing different things at different times. And fast forward 10 years, from the formal point of view, nothing changed, but we started thinking, in my case, children appeared to beautiful boys, and I also started thinking about, maybe something could change, because I was, after 13, 14 years, I became a bit tired being this even though only from this formal perspective, CEO, because we changed our jobs, we changed our roles, we divided different tasks between one another. I decided that first myself, that maybe it would be good to make a change. I started discussing it. Mateusz, as you know, he was always the one who wanted to do technology and a few other tasks that he enjoys doing. But we started thinking with Michael, maybe it would be a good time to, for him to take over the role. I don't want to, because it was over, like I mentioned, 2 years, so there might have been different conversations. I wonder how he remembers it, but definitely it was over a longer time. And then I would say within last year, things really started changing. You got much more involved and for much better, I think, together with Michael and you yourself. And you really started changing our company for the better. And then just, it was just recently we decided that, this switcheroo could happen. And then we simply decided that, we'll decide on a good moment to announce, and well, here we are.
I'm joking with Michael that we are a two-headed CEO.
Yeah. It's very good, actually. It's very good that you both decided to embrace this role. Because in different times in the company, of course, Mati and Michael were always involved, but there were sometimes some parts of the company that, due to Mati and Michael being busy, I felt like it was difficult for me to organize some processes. Even when I had a good idea, I didn't have, enough internal or external pressure to organize them in the processes, and even if some activities were really good ideas, they weren't continued for a consistent longer time, and that was probably one thing I regret.
Let's say it sweet and short, just burnout kicked in.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
No one is immune to a good old burnout.
Yes.
But I've got a bonus challenge for you. Bonus questions. It will be fun, I promise you. You had hamsters before.
Yes.
And even become kind of a fan of hamsters. What does having, growing, taking care of hamsters, like it's kind of LinkedIn-ish challenge, taught you about producing software?
Now, I didn't hear this question earlier for anyone watching or hearing, so, well...
The confusion is genuine.
Yes. Okay, first thing that came into my mind, hamsters that I had with my wife when we were before...
It was even before
30.
marriage.
Yes,
I believe this was our second office.
Yes, 26 years, something like that. Yeah, so, well, I have never had any pet, so it was a first pet for me. And we didn't have kids back then, so that was like the first responsibility for me, aside from having a company, of course.
It was test drive for having something living
definitely.
and breathing.
Yes, definitely. Being responsible for something, just like we are responsible for software. Being responsible for 24/7, I mean, maybe not in the way that I currently have kids, but, going to the doctors, buying food, replacing all the waste that was produced, cleaning the cage, all of it, it wasn't something that could be delayed, like maybe a bit, but not okay, I will do it next week. No, definitely not. And with software, it's similar. Once you start doing it and deploy it and release it to the client, you cannot say, okay, that's fine, now we can go somewhere else. You need to support it, you need to take care of it, update it, it's a bit of a living thing, of course, not in the same way, but it's something that you just don't forget about. Well, you shouldn't.
And it may break.
And it may break, definitely.
For no obvious reason, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a prize for you.
Oh.
And now, since you're not officially the CEO, you should have a bit more time. So I've got a hamster replacement for you.
Oh, that's great.
Show it to the camera.
I will definitely use it play with my kids.
Although it's 7+, I believe.
Yeah.
They will manage.
It will be, under supervision. But yeah, that's so nice. I didn't even know that they had, animals, hamsters.
I'm surprised how many adults don't play Lego. Some time ago, I gave a Lego set to Marcin Dąbrowski, my first guest of this podcast, and he was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. That's my first 18+ Lego set." How come?
Well, I'm waiting a bit until kids get older and I'm buying them. There's no longer Lego Mindstorms. Actually, they replaced it with a similar set. So I guess I will be buying the similar set, but I'm just waiting so they can appreciate it. Because when Mindstorms first appeared, I was a bit too old. That was a pity, but 20 years later, yeah. But of course, this is great. Thank you.
What should I wish you for the future as the partner of the partners?
Definitely more organized work.
I'll take care of it.
I know. Yeah, but this is one thing that, all these experiences that I had previously, they were cool and great, but over the years, on average, it was always a little bit too chaotic. And, well, we were at the stage, so it's not like it's very surprising. But now, with all the changes that are taking place as we speak, it would be really great to, have more control over it, and I think it will happen. So I will patiently wait for it.
We're in this together. Where can other people find you?
Well...
Or follow your incredible thoughts?
Considering we are speaking in English and hopefully some folks around the globe will watch or hear it, you can have a little challenge of your own and write my full name and surname in the Google. Once you do it, you should be fine because as far as I know, I'm the only one and one of the, 5 people with this surname currently.
Okay.
So it shouldn't be difficult. Worst case scenario is that you will find my brother, because he is the only one with the presence online. But I'm on LinkedIn. And
you had a podcast, and if you're curious about Incredible Thoughts by Krzysztof, and you don't know Polish, you can use YouTube and creative captions and, embrace the technology. And it will be a machine translation, but you can listen to his soft radio voice, and see what he was sharing with the world. Thank you for coming here.
Thanks
finally.
for inviting me.
So enjoy your new road, and we'll be seeing each other in different contexts, and the world will know about you.
Thank you.
Technology keeps changing, AI keeps changing, but trust, honesty, and human interactions still matter. Thanks for joining us. Visit Makimo.com, follow It's Makimo and Grounds for Discussion podcast on Instagram for more behind-the-scenes conversations about software, business, and the people building both. Have fun, and until the next time.